Hello, thank you for joining us today on a demo that doing a mixed cloud Kubernetes SQL Server availability group. So in this demo, we will deploy pods in Azure Kubernetes service using DX operator, and then we're going to deploy and join the pods on Google Kubernetes into the AKS cluster. And finally, we will deploy and join pods in EKS into our AKS and GKE cluster. So let's get started. So the prereq for our sessions today is that we already have Kubernetes deployed in AKS, EKS, and GKE. So our AKS cluster in this case is deployed in West US 3, and for EKS we deploy it in US West 2 region, and for our GKE we have it deployed in US West 1A. So we have three separate Kubernetes cluster running across three different cloud providers. Okay. So we are going to deploy SQL Server AG and AKS, and we are going to use our DX operator to do so. So first thing we need to do, obviously, we want to switch context to our AKS cluster. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And we are going to deploy our DX operator controller. Just like that. We have our DX operator deployed in our AKS environment. Next, we are going to create a few secrets to store our SA password for SQL Server and our passkey for our DX Enterprise cluster. Okay, and I do need the license key. Okay, so we get the secrets deployed. Now let's go ahead and deploy our SQL AG and AKS. And we are going to do that by simply applied the AKS YAML. In this case, it is a CRD for our deployment. So let's take a quick look at our AKS YAML here. So for this particular deployment, we are going to create two synchronous replicas, and then we're going to name our availability group called MindAGS. And because this is a SQL 2022, we are going ahead and create our AG with contain capability. Okay, and in this particular deployment, for each pod, for each replica, there are going to be two containers. The first one is DX Enterprise container. We're going to pull the image from Docker Hub. And the secret for our DXE container is coming from our DXE secret that we created earlier. And for SQL Server, we're going to connect to MCR and pull the latest versions of SQL Server from the repository. Okay. And of course, for the secret for SQL Server, again, we're using MS SQL as our secret. All right, so let's go ahead and deploy this YAML. There it goes. And that's all it takes to spin up two synchronous replica AG inside AKS. And let's take a look and see if we get all of our data. And look like our number one is very much up. So AKS load balancer is already created. So let's go ahead and connect to it. Yeah. Okay, so we just in a few minutes, really, that's all it takes to deploy a two replica AG in AKS. See it here. Maximize. There you go. So we have two AKS synchronous replica running already. All right, so next we are going to deploy a few more replicas, but this time we're going to deploy it in GKE, and then we're going to join that GKE cluster, Kubernetes cluster, into this AKS cluster. So basically it's going across cloud, right? So to do that, let's go ahead and bring up our script here. We need a one-time passkey so that the GKE cluster can connect to the AKS cluster. So to do so, let's go ahead and generate a one-time passkey for our sessions here. Okay, so by default, this one-time passkey is only good for about an hour. We should be able to get all of them joined within an hour easily. Of course, we can also extend the expire date and time if we wish. Let's go ahead and put it right here so that we don't forget. Let me go ahead and replace some values. Yeah. All right, so let's switch over to our GKE cluster. So let's go ahead and switch contacts. So we now connected to GKE, the cluster, Kubernetes cluster running inside Google Cloud. And of course, just like how we did it on AKS, we are going to go ahead and deploy our operator. And we are going to set up two secrets again. Okay, and let's take a look at our GKE YAML before we deploy it. So for the GKE deployment, we are going to create a single synchronous replica and a single asynchronous replica. And again, we're going to join into our myAGS AG. And because this is also a SQL 2022, we are going ahead and apply the contain flag for our AG. And similar to how we deployed our AG in AKS, we're going to pull the DXE Docker image from Docker Hub and SQL Server image from the MCR. Okay, and because this is a cluster that we want to join into our AKS, we're simply changing our flag that joining existing cluster. And to do that, obviously, we already have the one-time passkey. So that should be the only change in the YAML. So let's go ahead and deploy our GKE. Okay. this is a lot faster. And while that's going on, let's go ahead. Let's see if we have a IP from our AKS still. We can actually connect the X Enterprise admin console to the AKS and take a look from AKS perspective. Okay, so similar to how we had it before, there's our AKS cluster with two replica, AKS 0 and AKS 1. And it's up here, the GKE 0 is the joining into our AKS cluster across the internet. All right, looking like it is in. And it's joining into our HE here. Oh, that's right, it's already done. So it's all connected. We have 4 nodes joining into 4 replicas, joining into a single SQL AG quorum. Yeah, look like all of our databases are also fully synced across the 2 cloud Kubernetes cluster. So as of right now, we have a SQL AG cluster that span 2 different cloud providers. One's running inside Azure and one running inside Google. And you can see there we have 3 synchronous and 1 async. All right, great. Now let's go ahead to the next part, is where we are going to deploy an EKS. So this is an Amazon cloud service. So first thing we're going to do, switch context again. And we are going to apply our operator to the EKS cluster. Okay, and we are going to get our license. And our one-time passkey so that we can join together. Okay, and let's create our secrets for our EKS environment. Yes. Okay, secrets are created. So the only thing left to do really is to deploy our EKS AG. And here's our EKS YAML. In this case, we are once again going to deploy a single synchronous replica and a single asynchronous replica. And similar to how we did so in the GKE, we are to do the same thing here for EKS. Okay, and of course you can change the number of replicas, synchronous or asynchronous mode that is, that you want. All right. Okay. And we can monitor the progress by looking at our DX admin console here. So at this point, the operator walk through the magic by deploying the SQL Server AG replicas to EKS and provision them and join them into our cluster here. So we can also take a look at VR. It's actually up and running. it shouldn't be much longer. Oh, there it goes. The EKS0 is now slowly joining into our AKS and GKE cluster or quorum. So one knows he's working through. Okay, look like we get our EKS 0 and EKS 1 fully joined into our existing cluster. So there you have it. We have a AG, SQL AG cluster that span across AKS, GKE, and EKS environment. And we can really quite quickly and easily deploy such topology using the X operator. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the demo today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye-bye.